Arsenal 5, West Ham United 2, a demolition derby job for the Gooners this afternoon. By far the better team on the football pitch, the superior outfit in each and every single way. Hit the like and the share button for us. Make sure you are subscribing if you haven't done so already. But the sharing is important. The like button is important as well. I know that you're going to enjoy the show. The panel coming later on this evening as well. So much to break down, so much to talk about. It was an enthralling Premier League game. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. I loved it. I loved every single second of that game this afternoon. It was everything that is brilliant about the Premier League. We're going to be talking about Kai Havertz. We're talking, of course, about Bukayo Saka, the set pieces at Arsenal that were questioned and slammed, and how long can they rely on them? We're going into all of that and much more detail, plus a bit on West Ham as well, that find themselves in a very precarious position. And had they really tried harder to get goals in the second half, they could have found themselves on the end of a record-breaking defeat. Let me know where you're watching from around the world as well. I absolutely love listening to and seeing where you're all from, where you're all tuning in from. Let me know right now in the comment sections. Luke Skywalker started the show off here with asking everybody to hit the like button, and please make sure you get that done. I want to shout out to all of our members as well. If you want to get one of the vintage Football Terrace badges as one of our members, you can sign up now. The link is pinned to our live comment section. And I know quite a few generous people recently have been gifting them out to individuals as well. So if you're able to do that, if you can afford that, if you can support the terrace in that way, that goes a long, long way for us. It really, really does. Loads of people now tuning in. Super chats flying in. I see loads of members here. I see a little bit of Arsenal are scary. They were tonight. That first half, they were scary, and we're going to get into that in much more detail. I love this here from Johnny Boy that says Rice is not a £100 million player. I just don't see the relevance of that conversation this evening, unless you're just trying to find a negative for Arsenal. But I don't think Arsenal fans are going to. I don't think Arsenal fans are going to engage with that in any way, shape, or form. They're not. They're just not going to engage with it. And why the hell would they? Now, Arsenal had a hard start to the season. One, there's some very difficult fixtures away from home. They had some setbacks. Some of them red cards. Some of them of their own doing. They had a bit of bad luck in games as well as everybody else does, but it sort of felt as though everything had kind of gone wrong at the same time for Arsenal. And I remember a month ago, a lot of people talking about Arsenal's season already being over, Arsenal's campaign already being done, Arsenal having to try and salvage something with cups. And you fast forward a few short weeks, and there you see Arsenal sitting second in the Premier League. Yes, they're 6 points off top, but there is a long, long way to go. The response from this Arsenal team since the return of football has been excellent. That is now 13 goals in the 3 games, 3 victories, 6 points in the Premier League, 3 points in the Champions League. And they're not just starting to, they've done it 3 games running. The football, the brilliant Arsenal football that we saw at the beginning of, towards the end, of the 21-22 season. What we saw throughout the majority of the campaign 2 years ago when they became title contenders, where I coined the phrase, which has gone on to be, whether people like it or not, something that I see most YouTubers do now. Scary. Arsenal looked a scary outfit from my perspective at that point. And for large parts at the beginning of this season, that had been missing from this Arsenal team. It was a bit too pragmatic. It was a little bit too safe. It was just a little too safe from Mikel Arteta. What we are now seeing is Arsenal back at its absolute best. And I think Odegaard coming back from injury plays a part. But I also believe that it's a number of other players finding form again. Trossard was having a really poor time a few weeks back. He is playing exceedingly well again. Kai Havertz scoring goals, and we'll get onto him later. Bukayo Saka flying, the defensive line being fixed. I know he was missing today, but Thomas Partey's been amazing in recent weeks. Rice looking more like himself in the last 3 games after a really slow start by his standards in the Premier League. So I kind of look at this situation and I think to myself that Arsenal are in a position where they're starting to look like Arsenal again. And today was a great example. From minute 1, they pinned West Ham United back. They were moving the ball very quickly. The play was beautiful. And yes, the opening goal was from a set piece, but they got the set piece through brilliant play. You don't just get set pieces. You know, if you're not a good attacking team, you don't get a lot of set pieces. People don't seem to give Arsenal the credit for that. When it comes to Arsenal set pieces, they're ridiculous. I don't understand why people haven't worked out how to stop them yet. That's not a dig at Arsenal. That just shows you how amazing, how complex, and how innovative they are. That 2 years in to being amazing at set pieces, nobody has found a way to counter them. And there's always these variations. The other day in the Champions League, everybody went to the back post, but Gabriel stayed central. Today, everybody, including Gabriel, went to the back post. And I think it leaves teams wondering, well, what do we do here? They go 1-0 up Arsenal, and then it was just cruise control. They put the foot on West Ham's neck. The second goal, that looped flick pass from Martin Odegaard through to Bukayo Saka, who squares it. And look, Trossard got on the end of it. It could have been Kai Havertz. Doesn't really matter. That was such a majestic goal. And I think only really doable when Odegaard is on the pitch because of the inventiveness of that pass, but also the ability to execute it. Amazing. Saka, by the way, that was his second assist of the game. Saka's moved on to 10 assists this season. The most he's ever got in the Premier League in one campaign is 11. He's already on 10. He's looking like he's going to break a lot of records there. Then they win a penalty. Brilliant work from Bukayo Saka. And I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it again. On Friday, during Straight Facts, Donald's got to apologize for his doubt around Saka. Now, he'll say, I'm allowed to criticize a player when they're playing badly. But I'm going to call it for what it is. Don doesn't do that. Don uses a bad moment to try and create a narrative about a player's overarching ability and qualities, as opposed to, he's such a brilliant player. Why do you think he's off the boil right now? It's more, do we really think Saka's that good? Because I want to see him do more, and right now he's not playing very well. The way you phrase these questions, I think he's been brilliant all season, Bukayo Saka, and today was another amazing day for the young man. Wins the penalty, Odegaard puts it away. Then we see that they go 4-0 up, and we're all sitting there thinking, well, there we go. There we go. Game over, game done, game finished. And a little bit of craziness happened. Arsenal did go to sleep at 4-0. And by the way, the fourth goal, I thought that was the penalty. It wasn't. The fourth goal, the pass from Trossard to put Kai Havertz through was so amazing. Absolutely magnificent it was. He plays him through. Havertz puts it away. And I want to shout out Kai Havertz here. That is his 26th goal or assist in 49 Premier League games for Arsenal. It took him 91 games for Chelsea to get to the same number of goals and assists. So for me, I know you've got to add trophies to this, but so far, considering he didn't even start playing as the centre forward until February last year, it's been a pretty good return on that £60 million investment from Arsenal. And then, as I say, the game took this really weird turn where Arsenal, they went asleep. Let's just call it for what it is. Arsenal went asleep when they went 4-0 up. Really good ball. AWB, of all people, was there. He buries it. AWB buries it. And you just think, okay, consolation goal this early. Then Arsenal concede a free kick. That, by the way, wasn't a free kick. Ridiculous decision by the referee. Rice wins the ball. There's barely a follow-through. Can't understand why it was given. And Emerson hits a screamer. And you're thinking, hang on a minute. What's going on here? But then Arsenal demonstrated their class. They got back hold of the ball in that first half, maintained control, worked a good move, got a corner. From the corner, Fabianski punches Gabriel in the face. There may have been an ever so slight contact on the ball beforehand, but I'm glad to see a goalkeeper punished for that. Again, to show I'm keeping the same consistency. I said last season, Onana got away with one and conceded a penalty from one like that last season. I said both were penalties. My consistency is there. Rightful penalty. Bukayo Saka buries it. Not a great penalty, but he puts it away. 5-2. And in the second half, what Arsenal did is they just managed the game out. They didn't try and go for 6, 7, 8 with any real gusto. They reserved a lot of energy. They took Gabriel off. They took Calafiori off, both nursing some little injuries. Odegaard and Saka got a rest. And even West Ham, they didn't try really to equalise. They had some half chances. Ings maybe right at the end should have scored. But they weren't trying to score too badly. Because I think in their minds, it was very much a case of, if we go for this, if we try to get back into this game, Arsenal will pick us off on the counter and we'd rather lick our wounds and pick this up another day. The game kind of petered out. Arsenal will take the 3 points. But I will say this, Arsenal were looking scary again. Arsenal were looking unstoppable again. And I know that you'll see the 2 goals conceded. There was a slight lapse in concentration for the first. The second goal, I don't think Arteta worries about that. In the debriefing, I think he'll just say, look, it wasn't a foul. It was a great free kick. Nothing can be done about it. The first goal, he'll definitely be ripping into those players about. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But they maintain control after that. Even when the 5 substitutions were made, Arsenal was still the better side. They go on to the Man United game now, which, of course, I'm dreading. I really wish my club was playing the Arsenal team of 4 weeks ago, not this quality side we see now. But as I said at the top, Arsenal were finding their feet again. The form is coming back. The goals are there. I mentioned already the set pieces. The set piece conversation is dead. Of course, they've got to score other goals, and they did today. They scored 1 goal from a corner. I mean, they won a penalty from one of them. But they only won penalties today because they were so dangerous in their attack. They scored 2 beautiful goals from open play. And when this Arsenal team plays expansively, as they did at the right times in this game, they're dangerous. But the set pieces are just magnificent. We can't overlook them. Do you know, like direct free kicks at the edge of the box? Clubs on average score 4 or 5 a season max. On average over 30 years. Arsenal are what? It's set pieces. They're scoring what? 19, 20 a season? It's unprecedented. Unprecedented numbers and consistency from them. So when people say, can they rely on them? For now, yes. Until clubs work out how to stop them. And I actually think part of the reason they can't stop them is the deliveries are so good. And they've got 2 or 3 players who are just so hungry for that ball, so powerful when they're running, and very good at heading the ball from close range. And Gabriel is the standout example of that. I think if you have the same set-piece coach, players that can't cross as well as Rice and Saka, and a player not as technically gifted with his head as Gabriel, I don't think they score as much. I don't just think it's about working them out. It's about the quality of personnel that are involved with them. But overall, as I say, this was a stellar performance from Arsenal. They go second in the league. They'll be hoping and praying that there's a draw tomorrow, so that maybe not a Man City win, but definitely a draw, so that Liverpool drop some points. But the idea this title race was over was wrong. I think all the Gooners, and I'm mentioning the likes of Brandon and people that come on the terrace and said, Terry, I don't know where the next good performance comes from. I don't know if we can turn it around. I don't know if this team can play good football again under Mikel Arteta. I think this just goes to prove that you were in a bad period. I felt you're always going to come out the other end of this, Arsenal, playing some really good football. There's a long way to go in terms of winning the league. But anybody that was writing their season off 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I think you really got to come back with your tail between your legs and maybe, just maybe, make a statement and just say, do you know what? The next time we have a rough patch, which is normal for teams, criticize what's going on the pitch, maybe without the overarching statements that the team's dead, this player's dead, the manager's dead. Because I just think that those conversations are done now. Whether or not you think they'll get over the line to win a trophy, that's a separate conversation. And as I said all along, anyone who's never been a fan of this Arsenal team or never been a fan of Arteta, I get in those bad moments while you let it out. But the people that kind of, not flip-flop, but 1 minute, I think we can do this. 2 minutes later, I don't know how we're going to score goals. This is the worst team I've ever seen. I want them all sacked. It's like, bro, I think you've got to calm down a little bit there. But as ever, people, look, I want your thoughts. I want your feelings. I want your opinions now. Get your comments in. We're going to go through some of them now before we bring the panel out this evening. This here says, Terry, Saka, 10 assists and 5 goals in 12 Premier League appearances. Sensational. It's sensational. He's having a brilliant season. I won't have anybody say, but some of them are penalties. So what? Absolutely. So what? There's penalties. Penalties are part of football. No one took them away. Well, some people tried to, but they're idiots. Palmer scored a lot of penalties last year. He was still raved about. Salah scores penalties. He's raved about. Bruno Fernandes scores penalties when he was in that his pomp of scoring and assisting. We weren't removing them. So you keep the same energy for Bukayo Saka, top class player. You may not have to think he's world class, but he's a top class player. I just don't think that can be debated. I just don't think it can be debated. I don't think there's a conversation to be had other than what a player that young man is. It's as simple and it's as straightforward as that for me. Terry, all love, bro. Thank you very much. I appreciate the comment there, my friend. This is for you, Terry. Thank you, Mafia Boss. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. You don't need to, but thank you. It means a great deal to me. Everyone who super chats, everyone who supports the Terrace, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it. Just wouldn't. I'd have to go to work and do it. I do go to work. This is my work, but it's my work because of you guys. It's as simple as that. So without you all, none of this would happen. Some people would probably love that, to be fair. Some people would probably think that's, Christmas come early. The Football Terrace making less content, but I know most of you love it. Love my team. The power of friendship. I obviously can't say the last word. That is not part of my vocabulary. Some people are allowed to say it. I am not in that position. So, yes, I'm not reading that out. But everybody can read it. Everybody understands what it means. There we go. Fabianski should have seen red for that punch. No, I don't think he should have seen red for it. It wasn't malicious. I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't personally send him off for it. But I do get where you're coming from. Definitely a foul, 110%. I don't think you can not call that a foul. Some people might not call it a foul. I certainly would. I think it was horrendous. I think it was a horrendous foul. And goalies have been getting away for that for far too long. Goalkeepers have been getting away with that for what feels like forever. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. And I'm glad to see today that it was sort of stomped out by the referees. Saka has an aura now where he knows he's the best. I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from there. I think he understands. What I love about Saka is that he knows how good he is, but it doesn't stop him from working hard. He knows what he's capable of. And yeah, of course he has bad games, but we have to. It's so funny because you forget about individual matches sometimes as you get older. And I watched Paul Scholes speaking about when Man United played AC Milan in 2005, I think it was. And I remember those two games in the Champions League. I think we lost 1-0 over 2 legs. It might have been 2-0. Both games might have been 1-0, but it was a very low score like that. And AC Milan were just better than we were. And I think it was the season that they got to the final when Liverpool beat them. I think it was the 2004-05 season. Ronaldo was very young. And Scholes was talking about how in this game, every single time he tried to get past Gattuso, he couldn't. He was being marked by Maldini, Ronaldo, but he couldn't even get to Maldini because Gattuso kept on taking the ball off of him. And he spoke about how Ronaldo learned so much from this game, how I don't always have to be the guy dribbling. I can pass first and move. And he learned that if he just would have passed some of those balls inside and then made his run for a Scholes or a Gig to then play him in, he would have circumvented Gattuso without the need to even exert any real energy. The problem for me is that Ronaldo was doing that in an era where social media didn't exist. It was also being done in an era where people didn't write players off for a bad game. And Saka goes through that sometimes. He has a bad period where he's having a 2 or 3 game period where he's not at the best. And people go, you know what I've been saying for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years about X, Y, and Z. That bad game there is proof I was right. And then the agendas run. And it's to me personally, I find it crazy. I find it absolutely crazy that Saka can be doubted, at the very least, as a top-class Premier League player. Even in the Champions League, I think he's got something like 10 or 11 goals and assists in 12 or 13 games he's played. It's a phenomenal record. Of course, you want trophies to be added to that, and there's more to come, but that's about legendary status, not are you good enough to play at that level. They're separate conversations in my eyes. If we buy well in the winter, we win the league, is what Abraham says here. If you buy well, you certainly could win the league. Imagine losing sleep to hate watch. Hold that, chat. Yeah. Snake Eyes here says, how many right wingers except for Salah in football are better than Saka? Sorry, he is world class. Anyone criticizing this needs to check his stats. Do you know what I'd say, Snake Eyes, is this? The world-class claim is subjective because everyone has a different level of what world. Theoretically, there doesn't have to be any world-class players in the world. You could be the best player in the world, but not world-class in some people's eyes because it holds a certain standard. Say you have to be as good as R9 at his peak to be world-class, then barely anybody's ever going to be world-class. And that's fine. That's fine because that's subjectivity. What you can't take away from Bukayo Saka is he's a top-class player. It just is. Of course, there are some that have better dribbling ability. There are some who look silkier and look sweeter when they do things. But in terms of the output, the delivery, which is so important, which I always say it, as great as Ronaldinho, as great as Thierry Henry were in terms of the silks and how great it looked, it was their output and their delivery who made them who they are. Because if they had all those silks and skills, but very little output, they wouldn't be the legends that they are today. Bukayo Saka's got that output, and that makes him a top player. And he doesn't just rely on pace, which I think is so important. He's a player that beats people with great skill. He can work in tight spaces. He can work in the pockets. He can go inside and outside, which is a rare commodity for wingers. So many wingers just like to go on their strongest foot, where he can go both sides. He scores. He can pass. He crosses. Score from range, one-on-ones. He's so multifaceted as an attacker. I just never really understood. I do understand the attacks from non-Arsenal fans because they're jealous that they don't have him. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. That's all it really comes down to. We're going to bring the panel out now to have their say on the show, but please make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Very, very important to the Football Terrace that you get that done. What's this say here? What metrics are you using? Sorry. What's this? Sorry. What metrics are you using other than your feelings? Me, I just mentioned output. It's not a feeling. It's a fact. Literally, everything I just said there was not about feelings. It was about facts. So, yeah, that's a metric. Equally, when I'm speaking about his ability to beat people on the inside and the outside, you can see with the number of dribbles that he completes that he's doing it. But what the eye test will show you, because there's no stat that shows you whether it's on the inside or the outside, if you watch him, you see him do it. Because he can often go to the byline and cut a ball back, but he can also come in inside on his left peg and cross so the ball's traveling towards goal. And you saw that recently. You see him do that to those back post passes. He can also shoot from that position as well. He can shoot with both feet, which is crazily good. I don't think that's a feeling, personally, my friend. I think that's facts in terms of stats, and then what I'm seeing with my eyes, not, oh my God, he makes me feel such a great way. That would be talking about my feelings. Hit the like and the share button, please. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. We've got Sulz, we've got Trimless, we've got Brandon, we've got Ash. Well, I did see Dio backstage. I don't know where he's gone, but I'm sure he'll be back. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Sulz, you predicted a beatdown today, and you were right, my friend. Talk to me.
Not quite the beatdown I wanted, but, you know, we'll take it. 5 goals is good. The 2 conceded were just a bit of a freak show. Like we said, you know, they wanted to laugh at me and Egal when we said the Arsenal's back after that one performance. Martin Odegaard, again, showing people once again why he is one of the best creative midfielders in world football. Why I kept saying this is going to be Real Madrid's biggest mistake in selling him. They're going to look back on this and they're going to see it this season. They could do with a player like Odegaard. They could do with a player who can unlock an Mbappe, who can unlock the likes of Vinny and Rodrigo this season. And they're going to regret it for years to come, especially for 30 million. That is an absolute masterclass, especially in the market that we're looking at today. To be able to get him for that cheap and to get arguably a world-class talent for as little as we did, mind-blowing business. It's probably the best thing Edu done, because I remember we were going in for 50, 60 million at the time. And a lot of people were saying, why we dilly-dally, just get the deal done. Obviously, James Maddison was on the table as well. But to me, Liverpool need to watch out, because Arsenal aren't going to slow down. We heard it in Arteta's press conferences. We're arguably the only team in the Premier League, considering like with City's injuries, that can go on a 10, 15 game streak. We did it last season. There was a freak that City went unbeaten in 2024 and we lost, I think it was one game and drawn something. And that's what cost us the league title. Now, January window is going to be crucial as well to kind of just bolster up the squad and just bring in that rejuvenation piece. Someone, for example, if a striker or a big attacker comes in, that can rejuvenate the mentality in this team as well. But you've seen it today. We've done another beatdown. Sporting got beat down as well. Nottingham Forest, who have been on fire this season, we're making these teams look average again. And that's what we've been doing last season. Now we just need to keep continuing this form. We need to do the same to Man United, because if we can do that with their manager bounce and the new manager, the good feeling that Ruben Amorim has brought in, that's where it's going to really solidify that this team is not here to slow down and we're here to speed up. And this is where the title race really begins. A lot of people give that grace to Man City where they start off slow and they don't have those sort of performances. I feel like this is what Arteta's starting to learn. You've seen it today as well. He's been speaking about the title race and losing the title race and what it's going to take to win it. Now, the issue that we have as a fan base is our words aren't going to hold much weight because we haven't won it and we haven't got it over the line in the last sort of 2 seasons, and we haven't actually won in the last sort of 4 seasons. But it doesn't take away from the facts that we are one of those teams that can compete, and arguably right now in the league, the only ones who can go on a 10-15 game streak. If you were to put your house on it, Arsenal are probably the only team you're going to do that with. Liverpool can have a blip. Yes, they've been in absolute scintillating form, but we've seen the same form under Jurgen Klopp last season, where up until January, they were 8 points clear of the Premier League title, and that's where they fell off, because the games are going to come. They're going to come thick and fast, whether they invest into the January window or not and bolster those key positions like Gravenberg. They've just lost Ibrahima Konate. Whether Van Dijk goes down, well, we've seen him go down with injuries. You know, Salah's picked up a few knocks in the past few years. Trent's injured. This is where, you know, those sort of tests are going to start coming in. We've played the top half of the table. We've gone away to those sort of big games, and we're still competing and we're still within touching distance. This is why I said the league was never over. I don't believe if 9 points or 8 points is going to drop your faith in that league title being done, especially with the way that Arteta set us up. That's where I feel like you've never believed this team. And when you hear Martin Odegaard's interviews in midweek as well, have you learned anything from the injuries? He said, we've got a lot more time and space, and actually we can play a lot better. And he's come back from that injury, coaching these players. We've got our leaders and our voices back in the team. Gabriel, you've seen it today, the amount of communication from the corners, talking like Odegaard, Saka, getting into a triangle, talking about what they're going to do and predicting what this corner is going to happen, and then to deliver and execute that on a consistent basis as well. Look at Saka, 5 goals and 10 assists, and we're only in with just touching December. And this guy is producing output like that without the likes of Martin Odegaard, because the narratives are going to be that only things go well for Saka when the team isn't fully complete. And Arteta can only get a tune out of this team when he's got his full 11. But you're seeing it now. We're still producing the goals. We're still doing it. And this is without a so-called number 9. You know, even when you look at Havertz popping up with more important goals, different types of goals, being a nuisance as he is. And that's kind of what we need. Today, we had Mikel Moreno out as well. We didn't have Thomas Partey, who's been a formidable and a scintillating form this season. And we had to play Jorginho. Look at the quality Jorginho brought in. Now, the issue is, are those second players and those string players going to get us over the line? Is Arteta going to trust the squad more? Because we're starting to see Ethan's getting minutes, Sterling getting minutes, Jesus getting minutes. Whether we rate them or not, we're starting to see them come on a lot earlier, 45-minute substitutions. We're starting to get a lot more smarter with the game management. It would have been one of those criticisms in the second half. Why did we stop? Why didn't we go for the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and absolutely go for their next? But sometimes you've got to play the game and you've got to play away from the emotions. As a fan base, yes, I've seen it on Twitter. Why did we stop and why did we go for more? But we had to stop. They did get 2 goals off the break by us just wanting to continue attacking. For me, the league's ours. And you know what? I'm actually going to say it's for us to lose. As much as Liverpool are ahead, we are going to overtake them and we are going to dominate the league coming forward.
Big comments there from Gunner Sulz. Their league to lose. Ash, what did you make of tonight? Was it everything you thought it was going to be?
I mean, except for those 2 goals, I would say, yeah, exactly. I did think we would like dominate them and destroy them that way. Like none of the goals that came in was like a surprise. It was like, oh my God, we're actually cooking. Because the last 2 games were kind of indicative of what's coming. We've got like, I mean, so this game probably, except for Thomas Partey, our entire starting 11 was there. And just we looked immaculate, man. Like the way, even though West Ham were like obviously sitting deep and making it a bit difficult, like it was at some point we were going to like break them open. I'm going to talk about like the set piece thing because I know it triggers a lot of people. Set piece FC. Generally, if you by this point after these last 2 seasons think these things are like flukish or luck that we're scoring corners at this high level, and I tweeted this, I genuinely don't remember seeing, I'm not going to say a team, a big team scoring corners at this quality and this consistency. Whatever the hell Nick Jover has done since he's come on, it's just transformed the way we play. You see even Gabriel going and talking to Saka before he takes the corner and as if he's giving him instructions on like how to play the corner, where he's going to be, and he actually ends up scoring from it. And that second goal, like that just kind of highlights, I agree with Sulz, like it highlights how good Odegaard is, because this dink he's done over the top, he's done it many, many times. But obviously people will only remember like the goals. He did it last season when we scored against Chelsea, and the way he played it to Saka this time. The last thing I'll add, like just on the performance, look, everything was amazing. I'm not that concerned about the 2 goals we've conceded. I know we've kind of conceded more goals than we expected at this stage. The second goal was an incredible goal by Emerson, a superb free kick. I can never get mad at our team conceding a goal like that. But the first one, I think Trossard did sleep and marking Wan-Bissaka. He just let Wan-Bissaka run past him like that. But star boy Saka, genuinely, if he's not in the conversation right now for one of the best players in the Premier League, if not the best, it's just blasphemous. Because people could not wait after 6-7 games to say Cole Palmer is not just the best player in the league, the best player in the world. Well, now he's come out of a game now where he scored a goal, 2 assists, and wins a penalty. And he's been doing this consistently every game. He showed up against big teams. He showed up against small teams. He's doing it in the Champions League. He's doing it in the Premier League. I think at this point, it's just blind hate if anyone doesn't think he's one of the best. I get people saying Salah is better, fair enough. But outside Salah, I don't think there's a single player in the Premier League this season that's been as good as Saka. Forget that. I'm even going to go as far as saying over the last 2-3 seasons, I think he's been like top 3 in the Premier League. And we need him, obviously, to stay fit to continue. But yeah, look, I agree with Sulz. I think the hunt has begun of Liverpool. I see the next 4-5 weeks, I think they will drop points. They've got Everton away, where they've only won once in the last 7 seasons. They've got, obviously, Newcastle away. They've got Spurs away. I think they'll probably beat City tomorrow, but you never know, right? Like, things could happen. But I think right now the hunt has begun. We have 10 or 11 games that I just think we will win on the bounce. Let's go get it. Let's go get it. This is the time for sure.
I want to ask you quickly, great stuff you said there about the set pieces. I just want to go back to one of your first points. Why do you think you are so consistent? Is it just the sort of system of it, the training of it? Or do you believe it's to do with the quality of crosses, the quality of Gabriel in those? What do you put it down to that you're so good and been so consistent for 2 years from corners?
I think it's down to 3 things, in my opinion, that I think Nick Jover and the team just have done really well. One is the quality of crossers in the team. There's a reason why, as good as an aerial threat Declan Rice is, there's a reason why he takes all the set pieces and the corners from the left, because his delivery is just incredible. And the same with Saka on the right side. So I think the fact that we have 2 very, very good crossers of the ball, that already makes things a lot easier, because it just allows players to set up and they know exactly where the ball is going to come in. The second thing I think is obviously having players like Gabriel, Saliba, and the others who, especially Gabriel, who's just so damn dominant in the air. Outside John Terry, I can't remember another centre back that was so damn lethal from every single corner, right? And I would say Gabriel is like, I think he's scored more goals than anyone since he's joined the Premier League as a centre back. And the last thing is variation. We don't take, people look at the set pieces and they think we take it exactly the same way every single time. We don't. Sometimes we have all the players at the back post, and as soon as Saka or whoever raises their hand, they all go crowd the keeper. One guy goes behind the keeper to make sure the keeper is not able to come out, and Gabriel comes out from the outside. Sometimes we go at the near post. Sometimes we just crowd the keeper. So I think that variation as well makes it very, very difficult for other teams to know how to prepare for set pieces when they come play against Arsenal. And in the end, when these 3 things are ticking really well, it just makes us incredibly dangerous.
No, I do agree. I think, as you say, Gabriel against Sporting, he was near the penalty spot, made his run from there while everybody else was being distracting. Today, they were all at the back post. And what was crazy about it, Gary Neville kind of called it in real time. He was basically saying that Paqueta, and I don't remember who the player was behind him, he went, if they stay where they are, Arsenal can't score. But both were dragged out of position. And but he's right. Like if Paqueta would have stayed in his zone where Gabriel heads the ball, at the very least, Paqueta's challenging him for the ball. So maybe he gets a block on it as an example. But because of the way you guys do it, and there's something really, again, I think Gary never brought up tonight, which I never thought about, which would both Saka and Rice do it. Even when you guys have got to score, they're really slow in the way they walk to the spot. They're not time wasting. They're being slow. They place it. They wait. There's almost like this anxiety builds up. And if you go back and watch the close up on Paqueta, he's sitting there. He can't see what's going on behind him. He's got to watch the ball. And you can almost see this nervousness in him. Do I go forward? Do I stay here? And he drifts out of his position. And I think the combination of everything that's going on with your set pieces is amazing. And I suppose that for me, I'm just tired of people saying, can we rely on set pieces? If you've been scoring this regularly for 2 years, I don't how much longer do you need to do it until you say that's a sustainable source of goals for this team? I would love to know that.
And I'll just add to that point that you mentioned. The reason why I don't think it's as simple as Gary Neville says that, and obviously he played at a high level, so he'll obviously know. But the reason why I don't blame Paqueta and all these guys as much, because we've seen it many times when all our other players make runs that way. It's an instinct for you as a footballer to react, right? So when you see 6-7 players suddenly running to the front post, just as an instinct, you end up reacting to that. And what that does basically is that it's a distraction for who actually is going to get in at the end of the set piece, whether it's Gabriel, whoever. Notice who was marking him. It was Antonio. Antonio was looking at Gabriel the whole time.
Mate, I understand. I understand. And you're absolutely right. It's a distraction. And it's a distraction, but it's something that people haven't cottoned onto yet. And I think some of that is, again, a Tactico could sit down and break down how to stop that peak Pep Barcelona team. There's one thing saying how you stop it and then actually doing it in reality, if that makes sense. So I totally and by the way, I just want to say about the set pieces, I'm not stating that Arsenal couldn't do with a prolific goal scorer as well. That's a different conversation. I'm going to sound really bitchy here. The Football Terrace is no longer doing these childish debates of, so you think our set pieces are sustainable? Does that mean we don't need a striker? Unless you hear me say that, don't fucking assume it. We ain't fucking Teletubbies here talking about the Teletubbies and a night in the fucking Winter Garden or whatever that fucking show's called with the fucking they're called the Tinky Tongs and the Binky Bongs. We're not here talking to them. This isn't bedtime stories on CBBS. Me stating that set piece goals are sustainable is not me saying you don't want to get goals from elsewhere. It just by itself in isolation, it's a sustainable source of goals. It really, really is. Brandon, how happy are you tonight, mate?
Yeah, good, Tel. Midweek's performance against Sporting Lisbon, I didn't think there would be much that could top that. But I think the first 39 minutes of this game topped it. I think we was absolutely impeccable in the first 39 minutes, not just in our attacking phases, but the way that we controlled the ball, the way that we nullified West Ham completely. We didn't allow them to have a single sniff. I don't even remember West Ham having the ball in our half in them first 39 minutes. And obviously they picked the ball out of the back of the net quite a few times. But yeah, and then the second half performance, like Sulz was saying, you see a lot of people complaining about us not going for the 6th, the 7th, the 8th. I actually quite like that about the fact that we controlled the game in the second half. You know, the game was won. There's no need. It's not like towards the end of the season where we're having to try and make up goal difference or anything like that. You know, the game's won. Get the 3 points. Don't do anything stupid. Yeah, and just control it. Game management is key. Yeah, because we already see in that second half that, you know, a little bit of a lapse in concentration, and this is Premier League football. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. Teams can score against you. And that's what happened in the first half after the first 39 minutes. I was a little bit disappointed, really, because I thought up until that point we controlled the game really well. But for me, the first goal consists of Trossard sleeping on the back post and Calafiori being caught in no man's land. Just on Calafiori as well, I know what he's going to offer Arsenal going forward, but I haven't really been too impressed with him defensively since he's come into the side. I don't think he's had great moments. I can point out a couple of games for that. But you know, it doesn't matter today But in a tighter game, maybe something like that would matter. The second goal, you know, it wasn't a free kick anyway. Declan Rice clearly won the ball. And let's be real with it, no goalkeeper in the world is stopping that free kick. So you can't really, you know, point to us as being at fault for that. Although, you know, again, I think we kind of led to the error being made in the first place, because we was the ones who gave the ball away in, you know, our half of the pitch once again, which led to the free kick. So it's just two moments there where you got to be critical of. I think the manager, you know, dealt with that at half time anyway. He clearly said to the players, look, just, you know, the game's won. Game management, control the game. You know, the substitutions that he brought on as well. He took off Calafiori, he clearly has a problem. Brought on Zinchenko, and he's one of the substitutes who I actually look at and think, do you know what? You did really well today. You know, I always worry about Zinchenko defensively, but I think the instructions that the manager gave him, which was, again, clearly to go on and just control the game, control the possession, don't do anything stupid, extravagant or anything like that. I think Zinchenko did that really well. And yeah, what can we say about these players? You know, at the moment, we're scintillating in front of goal. We're scoring goals for fun, and we need to continue it on. You know, it is only one more game, and, you know, we need to go on a run. We are behind Liverpool. People, you know, I know Sulz is sitting there saying right now that he thinks that we could catch Liverpool. We've still got a points deficit.
I know we will. That overtaking is going to happen.
Okay.
There's no thinking about it. It's a reality. It will happen. Okay,
but I'm still... Do you know what? There's something that you said in your monologue, Sulz, that I totally agree with, right?
I said monologue.
You pointed out about the January transfer window, and I totally agree with you on that. I think January is going to be key for not just Arsenal, not just Liverpool, but I ain't writing Man City off, guys. You know, they look terrible right now, and, you know...
But you know what the issue with City is, though, Brandon? They need a physical presence, but they're looking at Zubimendi being the saviour. That's not going to help them.
They do, but Man City are the one team out of all three teams that I actually trust would go out in January and spend big money to get a player that they need. Whereas when I look at ourselves and when I look at Liverpool, we don't really do that. Liverpool don't really do that. So it's going to be key.
Man City haven't done that in years, though. Who have they got?
Their recruitment in the past for a few seasons has been a bit iffy.
Yeah. Do you know what's really interesting about their recruitment is a few stories have come out in the last couple of days that it was the summer of 2025, irrespective of what happened this season, when they were looking to invest. And I'm wondering whether or not that's them tempering their fans into, if they've got, and this is typically how City work, if they've got a main target that isn't available to the summer, until the summer, they may wait. I'm not saying they shouldn't sign a Zubimendi, but typically speaking, City will go after their main targets and they'll kind of wait. But yeah, look, they could. And I'm not writing City off just yet. Tomorrow's game may change everybody's mind. In terms of winning the league, I mean, they'll only still be a point behind you guys, I think, if they lose tomorrow, or maybe a little bit more. But I just don't see them having a 12-point swing with Liverpool if they lose tomorrow, personally.
I think that's where it's going to be key. You know, we're talking about, like I say, out of the three clubs that I think that I could trust to go out in January and spend, you know, the big money and get the players that they need, Man City would be the team. So it's kind of on Arsenal and Liverpool to take advantage of City while they're in this bad moment, to get as much of a points gap on them, so that it almost, you know, January almost becomes null and void to them, because like you said, Tel, they would normally wait for a target in the summer. I think if Man City is so far behind Liverpool and Arsenal, they probably won't January and do it. But if they are still within touching distance, then maybe they do.
Yeah, you know? I agree. I think that could play a huge role. But listen, I think what you said about game management tonight, back to tonight's match, I think I've got a few of my mates, like nothing to do with YouTube, just friends of mine, group chats, moaning, second half was a bit boring. I've just gone in there and said, guys, this is so typical of a Premier League team, especially the ones that are going to be in title races. When you're 3 or 4-0 up at the end of the first half, the second half are often drab because there is no need for Arsenal to play at 100 miles an hour in that second half, risk injuries. They took your better players off. That's actually what you want. In reality, I know there's a desire of it'd be great to score 6, 7, 8, 9 and really stick it to West Ham. But imagine you'd kept the players on, played at 100 miles an hour, but 2 players pull muscles badly. That'd be crazy. You did the absolute right thing to manage that game out 100%.
The perfect example. Just tell them about 2011 Arsenal versus Newcastle. Arsenal 4-0 up at half time. We end up drawing the game 4-4.
Oh, the great late Czech Toyota with that volley right at the end. I remember that game. I'm going to go back to the Arsenal fans in a minute, but Staffy is here with us. Are you here to apologize for the blasphemy you said yesterday in your prediction for this game?
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to all the Arsenal fans. I'm assuming most of the chat does watch Straight Facts, especially on Friday, because why wouldn't you? And if you're not, what is there better to do on Fridays than to watch Straight Facts? But I apologize to Arsenal fans. I made a very outrageous prediction. I predicted you would win by 3 or 4 goals. You actually scored 5. So I apologize that I underestimated you guys. You scored more than I thought you would. So for that, I apologize. But on some real talk, though, I don't usually hop on a lot of rivals match reactions, especially not Arsenal, especially not after an Arsenal win. It would make more sense if I was here after a loss. But we do play you guys on Wednesday. And obviously this match today, me watching the game, outside of it being a good game to watch, obviously I'm doing a little bit of scouting before we face you guys. And I have questions because I will be honest, I'll hold my hand up. I did tweet about a few weeks ago that Arsenal are no longer scary. Number one, it was to take a dig at Terry because why not? It's always fun to do so. But secondly, because I generally did feel that you guys lost that fear factor that I thought Arteta was building for a few years. And I understand, I understand Odegaard was injured, but there's a few times where I was here on either Straight Facts or the Top 6 where I'm saying I don't think it's just down to Odegaard. It's down to some of the recruitment that you've done over the last 2 summers, especially. You look like you were going for more of a physical type of play rather than, fluid football that you've been playing over the last 3 games. And excuse me if I'm wrong. I think you guys scored 13 goals now in a week. So back-to-back games, 13 goals. That's absolutely amazing. This does look like the old Arsenal that was just scoring for fun. And I'm trying to understand what changed outside of just Odegaard, because no disrespect, I like Odegaard. I actually praise him a lot all the time. And I always say he's probably the best 10 in the league if De Bruyne is not obviously
to answer your question, Staffy, though, on that, it's not
just that's what I want. I'm so happy you're here because I like to listen
creativity alone, though. What you need to understand is Odegaard initiates the press from the front, the defense from the front as well, which then means that there's less of an opportunity for teams to kind of counter us and kind of getting behind and actually do what West Ham did today. Obviously, with Odegaard getting more fitter and fitter, those presses will start happening a lot more. When you look at his pressing leading numbers, he's one of the best in the league at doing it in terms of distance covered, his leadership. That's what we've missed more than anything. As good as the Gabriel, the Declan Rice, the Saka's art of being leaders by example on the pitch, they're not that. They're not people who can, get Havertz to also press and manipulate those sort of positions. And that's kind of where I think Odegaard's underlying and those sort of off the ball movements kind of go missing, and his ability to kind of orchestrate the way that the team needs to set up the tempo control, because Havertz has done a good job, but he's not a midfielder. He needs to play in the 9. As much as Trossard drops into that midfield and does it, yes, they have their qualities. Yes, they can do certain things that Odegaard can. But even if we brought Ethan in, it still wouldn't. Yes, we would have that fluid football, but we wouldn't have the press. We wouldn't have the defensive. And also, Partey's been in and out as well, playing right back and stuff like that as well, which hasn't helped. Declan Rice with a broken toe. Mikel Merino obviously getting the shoulder injury. Those sort of things have mitigated the way that Arteta wants to play. Also, on top of that, when you look at the oppositions we played in the sort of opening 6, 7, 8 games, have been against the top half of the table and most of the top 6 as well, which also is going to bring a bit of conservativeness when you look at the away performances. The only time we played a home game against one of the big teams was against Liverpool. So that's how I see it personally. I just think Odegaard adds so much more to the game than what people think.
It's also helped the fact that we have a stable back four in the last 3 games. I think this back four that we have right now is the best back four we have in the team, even when with Ben White fit, because Timber, in my opinion, is better as a right back than Ben White. And these guys do help going forward. I know people think, yeah, but these are defenders. But the fact that Calafiori and Ben and Timber both make overlapping runs, both of them can invert, both of them link up and play the 1-2. We saw in the last 2-3 games, Timber was incredibly effective going forward, not just creating, scoring, like not scoring, creating and linking up with Saka and what's his name, Odegaard, and Calafiori on the left. While I hate this because I don't think any player should only play well when he has certain players with him, but Calafiori has also helped Martinelli play well. He's helped Martinelli go forward and make those runs. I'm not happy with that because I think Martinelli should be able to perform even when certain players are not there, because Saka does. But it definitely has helped having Calafiori and Timber as fullbacks.
Can I just throw a question out? Sorry, I want to throw a question out because I don't want to run out of time on this about Odegaard. I'll throw this to Nathan, but it's on that conversation piece. Is there a better attacking midfielder stroke number 10 in the Premier League right now than Martin Odegaard?
He's definitely up there as one of the best. I mean, for me, what makes Odegaard so special is he's not really just a final third output type of player. He's involved in all facets of the game. He comes deep to contribute. You know, he'll take the ball off the back four. He'll dictate play. He'll move the ball between the lines. You'll see him pick it up in different pockets. And he's an overall player, and he's a bit of a throwback in the sense of a lot of times when we look at 10s, we're expecting GA, but he's also someone who kind of, you know, for all the eye test merchants, he's easy on the eye. He's very silky, quick, you know, with his dribbles, where he's able to evade challenges, come out of press. So for me, he's very different to the likes of, say, you know, KDB or Maddison or De Bruyne. I feel like his game is a bit more of a throwback, but for me, he's definitely one of the best available in the world at the moment. And in regards to just the previous question, I think one of the things we're talking about what's made Arsenal tick, I think very simply players are playing in their rightful positions. I mean, when you have a right footer playing left back in Jurgen Timber, and I'm a big fan of Jurgen Timber, but it really distorts the balance of the team, right? There's a level of angle bias in which way he can play out. He's not comfortable going down the line using his left foot, and just simply having people in who are comfortable on their strong side, Timber on the right, Calafiori on the left, really makes a big difference to Arsenal playing. So I think it's a combination of players playing in their rightful position on their stronger side, and also players playing in their actual position. So we had a big portion where you had players like Trossard and Havertz playing in midfield. And for me, that's where Arteta really, really made a serious error, because that's not their positions. And you put in square pegs and round holes. And that could have easily been avoided. So I think it's easy to kind of look at it and be like, Odegaard's fix everything. But I think it's a combination of the fact that you've got a natural player. The quality of Odegaard is obviously shining through, but also there's a player playing in his natural positions and players are playing in their best positions. And that creates a sort of symmetry and balance within the team. So for me, that's...
So Saka on the left and Martinelli on the right then?
No, but I'm saying to you, how we use our wingers is a completely different thing to how we use our fullbacks.
I know, I was just messing with you, bro.
Yeah.
By the way,
sorry, go on, Brandon. I just want to do the super chat. Elisa, thank you very much. A huge donation to the Football Terrace. I want to say thank you. It says here, answer is very simple. Fullbacks are playing in their natural sides. Arteta has released the handbrake. Remove the emotion. The fear factor you are referring to happened from January last year, which was right. We have played conservatively to start the season 2 years running. And Joe is really interesting about that. And where this is not an excuse, so please nobody get triggered and start making excuses, because I think 2 of the red cards came from mistakes and ill discipline for Arsenal. But had you not have had those 3 red cards, there's a very strong argument you'd be 4 points, maybe 6 points, maybe 9 points. And no, it could have been 9 points because you got draws in 2 of them, but you get my point. Maybe 7 points better off than you are right now. And if you were, the conservative start probably wouldn't have bothered anybody because the results came in. And that isn't an excuse, because in the end, for want of a few reasons, it went wrong. The approach went wrong because you didn't have as good a start as you wanted. But That's why and I mean, you and I, Brandon, had this conversation a few weeks ago when you said, I don't see where a performance comes from. I understood the frustration. I understood the criticism. What I didn't understand is how a team that's played a lot of beautiful football in the last 2.5 years, to have the view that you don't know when whether they can produce that again. That was the only element I didn't agree with, because there's enough evidence to say they can play like they did today, like they did against Sporting, like they did against Forest last week. They probably had to start doing that a little bit earlier than they maybe wanted because of the 9-point gap potentially. Because I felt last year's conservative start was to ensure that you still had legs at the end of the season. Said it then, stand by it again. Now City start seasons quite slowly. Even Liverpool that are winning a lot, it's not act like they're playing football at 100 miles an hour. It's very controlled, which we're praising, by the way. But you've got to get the results with it. Because if Liverpool had dropped points in some of these games, their fans would say it's too slow. We're not playing it with enough speed. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Brandon.
I agree with that super chat, and I agree with what Nathan just said as well. But I also think the manager needs to take a little bit more credit as well. Oh my God, Arteta hater praising Arteta. No, the reason why I said at that point, where I didn't feel like I knew where there was a performance coming from. I think our biggest problem stemmed from the midfield. I don't think a midfield of Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, and Mikel Merino is anywhere near mobile enough or creative enough, and that was hurting our attack as well. So Odegaard being back is definitely key. I think the managers took the shackles off the players, allowed us to be a bit more free-flowing going forward. And like I just said, we haven't seen a midfield of Mikel Merino, Thomas Partey and Declan Rice in the past 3 games. Now, all of a sudden, you're starting to see Arsenal create chances in abundance. You know, the fullbacks as well being in their natural positions, players being in their natural positions, as Nathan pointed out. It all helps. And these are all things Mikel Arteta was getting wrong. You know, Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, was overthinking them games that we had in our first 10, 11 games. I know they're difficult games, and you have to be a bit more conservative, but I think he kind of outdid himself a little bit in a way by overthinking things, you know, playing part.
Odegaard was injured for 2 months. Like, how was he overthinking? Like, what was he going to do when the player that he needed to make the midfield mobile is injured, and he has to work with what he has? And we know that those 3 together are not as mobile. I mean, the only thing you can do is try to get through that difficult time without losing as many games as a manager, managing as much as you can, because there's no miracle you're going to perform. Merino is not going to turn into an Odegaard. And that's why he tried to use Trossard in that position. Trossard did well in a couple of games and then fell off. So as a manager, you can work with what you have. If your players are injured, you're going to have to figure a way out not to lose. And I think he did the best he could with those players. So
that's where I slightly disagree with you, because when in them games, I know it's hindsight now, and you'd probably say, you know, that he went with these 3 in midfield because they're the most experienced players. But in hindsight, I think he could have afforded to play an Ethan Nwaneri a bit more. He could have afforded to play a bit more of an attack-minded midfielder in there with a Partey and a Rice, or a Partey and a Merino or Rice.
And if the outcome was the same result that we got with Merino, Rice, and Partey, if the result that we got with Ethan in that role,
Can
I throw this in? Because I want to get the audience involved as well, guys. There's a super chat from earlier from Jeffrey that says, I love the continuous rotation. Again, from an outsider looking in your last 3 games, the rotation has been not just widespread, but he's got it right 3 games running as well, in terms of like the majority of your squad has played matches, some nice early substitutions, multiple people getting involved with goal scoring. I mean, I don't think this is your squad has won these last 3 games more than anything else, or am I misreading that as an outsider?
I do think that there's also another thing, the elephant in the room. Odegaard's back for 3 games. We scored 13 goals. let's not forget that, because the guy just gives us so much more freedom on the pitch. Like, he releases Bukayo Saka, and Bukayo Saka in the last 3 games with Odegaard being back after the international break has a goal and assist in every game. And this game had 2 assists, a goal, and 1 a penalty also. So I do think that whole right-hand side is unlocked with Odegaard, Saka, and what do you call it, Timber. And the reason why it's not Timber is just overlapping for no reason. I do agree. The handbrake has been taken off. We do have easier fixtures now. This is our time to start getting our goal difference up. This is our time to get ourselves going. And we're going to be staying in London. All these guys are going to have home cooked meals all their nights in their at home in their normal bed. They're not going to be traveling to any away grounds. They're not going to be leaving London for the whole December. This is a time where festive period, everyone's struggling because they have to go all across the country, and it's going to be very comfy for Arsenal. So we need to capitalize. And to the people who overreacted after, maybe it was deserved to react that way at the time, but there was always issues that could easily be addressed with a couple players coming back and Mikel Arteta making a couple tweaks. Today, no Moreno, no Partey. We didn't really miss them because Jorginho stepped up, Declan Rice returned, and they both played very, very well. Centre-back situation. Gabriel Magalhaes came off after 49 minutes. We were already 5-2 up. We didn't really have to worry about defending too much after that. And then the attack. Trossard came in for Martinelli, and we didn't miss a beat. I thought Martinelli should have started this game. Trossard wasn't having the best of times. What a pass. Defensively, he slipped up 1 second, but what a pass for Kai Havertz. By the way, Kai Havertz has equaled his record for goals at Chelsea already. 49 games. It took him 91 games to get 26 goals at Chelsea. He's already gotten that at Arsenal, and he's on 10 GA in the Premier League already this season. People don't like talking about GA, but Bukayo Saka is one off Mo Salah, who people are touting as player of the season. So if we're talking about Mo Salah as the player of the season candidate, Bukayo Saka, best believe, is going to be in that conversation if we win the league. And I don't want to hear about is he or is he not world class. We've been speaking about this, me and you, Terry, for 3 years now. When are people going to get it through their heads? The guy went from getting 14 GA to getting 25 GA to getting 34 GA to now in 12 games has 10 assists. He's coming for that Premier League assist record. That Premier League assist record this season will be broken by Bukayo Saka. Best believe. With 13 games, he's already gotten 10 assists. We are going to not only get 10 assists, he's going to break it with maybe some games to spare. And I think I'm changing.
Is it 19
right
now?
now.
What is the record? 19.
It's 20.
Kevin De Bruyne
KDB
and Mo Salah. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne and Thierry Henry both have the 20 assist record. I think he will break it. And also, I'm going to say this right now. I'm changing my player of the season. I had it as Saliba. I thought our defense was going to carry us. I think Bukayo Saka is going to be the player of the season if we go on to win this league. And Liverpool, you know what? Enjoy yourselves. 6-point lead. You guys win your game versus Man City. You might go back to 9. But when we do get even, because we will get even points at some point, we will catch up to you guys. You guys are going to drop points. And right now we have a favorable schedule. I do think we're going to continue this good run. When we do get level, when we level the score field, when we level the playing field, then we'll see who can really go on. Because I think from now for the remainder of the season, we have favorable fixtures. We've gotten a lot of the tough grounds out of the way. We faced the Man Cities away, the Aston Villas away, the Chelsea's away, the Newcastle's away. When we go on this run and we go on and win 10 plus games in a row, and everyone's looking, wow, how did Arsenal do this? Remember the craziness you guys were speaking. Because I personally believe this team is capable of doing it. I just needed them to show me what they could do. And now that they're showing it, we might be peaking. We might just be starting. Forget peaking. We might be just getting started at the perfect time. But yeah, Terry, I love you, bro. I gotta go.
Trimless, do you agree with what Egal has just said there?
No, obviously, as I said before in the other podcast, my hope's already been sucked out. So I'm more of a chill vibe, the spectating with this team. So I need to see it because I'm in a situation now where I'm still kind of, as I said, scarred. But I'm hoping we can overcome the past trauma and this time kick it on. This is the best time we've seen City not being the best they can. But I'm still not getting too gassed like other Arsenal fans are. I know a lot of people screaming we're back. I haven't had a sip of the Sulz juice yet. Obviously, he's very ecstatic. I hear it. I'm just a bit more reserved in it. But quickly as well, just going to say one thing I do want to highlight is the small things for me. I'm very happy that we went 45 minutes with Kivio on the pitch and we didn't concede. That was a very happy thing for me. You know, I almost shook a little bit after the game. So that was nice. And Jorginho, because when I saw the lineup today, I saw Jorginho. I was a bit, because Partey's been cooking. And Georgie coming in, and you know he did his thing. He did his thing today, and he looked like he had legs as well. Like I don't know if he's been saving that, but he got around. So I was very happy. And Odegaard, I used to pray for times like these, man. This is beautiful. So long may it continue. But at this moment, Terry, I'll be real. I'm just taking it one game at a time. I'm not even getting too excited. I'll be real. I'm so reserved.
And I think that's how most Gooners are taking it. If I'm being honest, of course, it doesn't mean you have to. Everyone's free to do what they want. One thing I am seeing a lot of, I tweeted, during the game that it was a stonewall penalty because Gabriel got punched in the face. A lot of Chelsea fans, a lot of Liverpool fans in the replies to that. No, it wasn't. He made contact with the ball first. It wasn't a penalty. It was a mistake by the referees. Just throwing it out to the panel. Does anybody think that was a dubious penalty?
Bro,
No.
it was such a clear penalty that Fabianski went and apologized to Gabriel before Saka took the penalty. He literally went and told him, "My bad, I'm sorry," and they shook hands and they walked away. This is
He thought he
Fabianski
was
admitting
Mike Tyson.
It was so bad that Gabriel had a bump on his thing and it turned like red or something, and he had to be subbed off at halftime. It's just
Yeah.
crazy at this point.
I'm happy
Yeah.
that it was finally given because we see too many goalkeepers get away with murder.
Do you know what it is for me?
Onana last season.
In the modern, well, he got away with one. Another one he got given as a penalty. He did it twice. I think for me, in the modern day game, so forget what people want to see, and you've got to go by the law. You can win tackles in terms of winning the balls and still get sent off if there's a bad follow through.
Mhm.
So I've never understood why that doesn't count for goalies, even if he gets a marginal touch on that ball. If you have to clear a player out and risk injuring them to clear a ball, every other player on the pitch is penalized for that. I've always felt like goalies can jump with their knees and dig it in people's ribs. There's been a lot of injuries with that over the years. And I've seen about 3 or 4. I've seen the screenshots where it looks like he's making contact. But even in slow-mo, I can't see personally the contact. I don't see the ball change direction or anything like that. I just can't believe I'm seeing people say that it
Do you
wasn't.
know what it is,
Goalkeepers
Terry?
are overprotected, Terry,
Yeah.
in football in general. If a striker goes up for a header and he just bumps into him with his back or his side, it already gets called as a foul, and it's never anything malicious. You just can't touch the goalkeeper, and we've seen them get so many easy calls. The fact that I've seen people say, but yeah, he just grazed the side of his head. It does not matter. He missed the ball. He collided with his head. As a referee, I don't need to wait for Gabriel or someone else to get straight punched in the face where their nose is broken or they knocked a couple teeth down and they're bleeding. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is malicious enough where it's a penalty. It's just simple. You go out, you punch the ball, you miss it, it's a penalty. And we've seen it last year. Onana got away with it. And PGMO came out later in the season and they said that was the incorrect decision and it should have been given a penalty. And ever since, I think it happened in one other game. I can't remember which one, and it was given. And that's the one that they compared to Onana to that one. And they're like, oh, how come Onana didn't get it? Ever since, they've been consistent with it. So I just don't understand what the complaint is. We always sit here and we complain about VAR not being consistent. Whether we agree or disagree with it, at least they made it black and white. You know what I'm saying? They said the minute you do that again, we're giving it as a penalty. And that's how you avoid more Onana situations. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah,
I think the position hasn't evolved. I think the position has evolved in terms of, growing up, there was always the rule where the goalkeeper comes out and clears everybody and takes the ball. Like there was always that kind of, allowance for him to do that. And I feel like it's one of the few rules where they haven't really evolved in. They still allow that kind of contact to be placed, obviously, until recently. So I feel like it's only now slowly starting to take place where we're starting to see, goalkeepers get less protection, because before they had kind of like the carte blanche to kind of do whatever they want, as long as they seem to get a small semblance of the ball, it would be okay. But I think that reckless and and doing, engaging in situations which can lead to potential injuries is now being penalised, and rightfully so.
What I don't like about that situation as well was how long it took the referee to actually give that a penalty. He took like a proper 7 seconds.
So no, I disagree with you though. I prefer referees to think before they make decisions. Me and my boy Phil, that's been on the show, he's a good friend of mine. He's a Gooner. For years, me and him and a few other lads, we all lived together in a big house, and we watched a lot of football together over like a decade. As kids, we watched a lot, but for that decade, we all lived together in his house in East London. I don't know, 1,000 football matches or so. And the one thing me and Phil agreed upon more than anything was referees would see a foul and they were so quick to blow the whistle and give it. It's like, hang on, take a minute. Forget VAR didn't exist then, but take a minute to wait and think, what did I actually see? Maybe speak to your assistant, because I think that's what he's done there. I think you'll hear his assistant saying, Maybe he said to his assistant, "Did you see what I thought I just saw?" Yeah, no contact with the ball. I think Fabianski hit him in the face. Okay, we're gonna go penalty. Cool, penalty. Bang.
That's fair enough.
I would much rather see that than the whistle blown quickly and the decision given without thinking. Referees, we criticize them for not thinking enough. I don't think we can start blaming them when they engage their brain. I think we as fans need to make sure at least we're the consistent ones. But I'm just
and they didn't
surprised.
win for a VAR decision as well, which is good because I don't like when referees wait too much for VAR to referee the games for them.
Yes.
If you're close enough and you think you have a conclusive decision on what just happened, take that decision and then wait for VAR to correct you.
Yeah.
Don't wait for VAR to make the decision and then you overturn it.
And I think we've always said that as long as the right decision is made, ultimately, we're all happy at the end of the day. That's all we want, is the right decision to be made. So if he took 30 seconds extra, you know, who gives a fuck? As long as he does what's right.
He's getting it right.
You know,
Yeah.
100%.
No, I totally agree. There's some of these super chats here. First one here from Sky King. He says Saka should be taking direct free kicks. Odegaard never really scores or puts pace on them. Saka can put them whip on it and even score from corners. Score from corners. That don't happen in professional football at the highest level. I'd be mad if it did. That's one of those things where he's Saka goalie, but maybe give him a chance. I mean, what I would say is, if he's better than him and showing that in training and in games, I'm sure your manager would put him on it. But I hear you. Yeah. Just catching up, Terry, and commenting about what you asked. You're watching from Paris. Big up yourself, Nomad from Paris. Big up yourself. Let us know, the rest of you, where you're watching. Gunner Souls, in a few weeks, you will be Arteta out. Mark my words, is what Chombe says here. This year says, did anyone else notice the lack of ambition from Gabriel Jesus to run fast, to create space for Kai Havertz to pass through on the counter-attack?
He's just lost it, man. Like both him and Sterling came off the bench, and I was like, "It's fine. We'll rotate players. It's 5-2," and it just looked like a loss. I don't know what happened to him, because the one thing he had in his game was like explosiveness and the dynamism, and he used to miss, but he would dribble and move, and now he looks like he's lost all of that. He looks like he's 36, or he's playing like he's 36.
You know what's that, Ash? You know what we call that? We call that washed.
It's a confidence thing, man. I don't think it's a confidence thing, man.
To be fair to him, he did make one run through the... I said, yeah, to be fair to him, he did make one good run through the middle where Declan Rice should have played him through, and he was through on goal, and he ended up playing it to Raheem Sterling. I think physically, obviously, since the knee surgery, there's been a decline. Physically, he's not the same player. He doesn't move nowhere near as agile, as you know, fleet-footed as he once was, and that's like some players never recover from knee surgery, and it just seems to be that way with Jesus.
But what I would say on the two is that Sterling, he just is not selfish. He tries to look for that pass. There was a time, I think it was towards the end of the game, like Jesus had the ball in the box. I think it was Ethan Wanyeri. He's literally wide open, and he just goes for the shot. And it's just stuff like that. Is like, I just don't understand his decision making at the time. It's like, there's an easy pass there. You know, it could be a goal. Who knows?
Is it me, or does Sterling look a little bit like he's a bit weighty at the moment? Like he doesn't look as slim as he once was. Like, if that makes sense, he looks like
we all put on them pounds and we get older, and maybe he's getting into, you know, like not quite dad bod, but you thicken out. Like as I've got older, I haven't even exercised as much. My legs have just got not fat, because I actually got quite good legs, right? That's no diddy here, but they just got thicker and heavier as I've got older, and maybe that's what's happened. But
we ain't professional athletes, though, Terry, are we?
Yeah, no. Your body changes as you get older, bro. Your body changes, and I think
I hear you. It's more like the leanness. I'm talking more about even like in his face. He doesn't look as lean as he once was, and I'm saying that from like when you look at Mo Salah, for instance.
I agree, but when you look at him and Jesus, though, when you look at him and Jesus, if they were in The Sopranos, what Junior would say is they don't have the makings of a varsity athlete, and that's how they kind of come across. And if you never watched The Sopranos, you will not get that reference. You've got to watch The Sopranos. But no, they don't look like they have the makings of varsity athletes at the moment. They do look a little bit washed. This from Josie earlier says Brandon sitting there with the confidence of someone who has his coaching badges. I love that. Matt here says, I'm happy for the refs to take their time if they arrive at the correct decision. Good job by Taylor on that penalty. Look, I thought I think he actually had a good game today, Taylor. Other than the free kick he gave against Declan Rice, I still can't understand. I watched in real time. I just thought it must have been a foul, and then I saw the replay about 5 minutes after the goal, and I thought to myself, how the fuck is he giving that as a free kick? Like it may.
I think it is. I think it is a foul.
You think it is? How come?
Right. I think it is because he even explains it to Declan Rice. I was actually watching it now, and he's literally in front of the play, so it's not like Taylor didn't see something that happened. Yes, Declan Rice gets the ball, but whenever you tackle from the back, you always risk taking the man first. And I think Declan Rice, while he touched the ball, he also made contact with Paqueta first. Even if you win the ball,
he goes in from the side though, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's more from this. I wouldn't really say it from the back.
No, I'm literally watching it right now. He comes running from behind Paqueta.
Okay, but for me, listen, when I see that, it was no different to. I know it's slightly different in terms of the angle the players are at. But I also saw the tackle later in the game from AWB on Kai Havertz. Now, in the modern day game, that's often given a foul. And again, for me, old school,
that should have been given.
Old school, neither of them are a foul. What I'm confused about in the new school is how Declan Rice was given as a foul, and a referee basically applauded AWB for his tackle. Where I feel like in the modern day game, you're not allowed to touch it. That's what I was confused about. But I'm saying he had a good game, and I just pointed out 2 mistakes he made. But yeah, aside from that, they didn't impact the game. But referees did all right today. But I think they got most of the other decisions in the game correct. I mean, Saka's was a penalty. I'm sure nobody's arguing, but the Saka's one was definitely a penalty as well.
Yeah. I just hope Arsenal fans remember this game when they talk about refereeing decisions and conspiracy and all that stuff. Remember that decisions didn't go our way because it was the correct call. I think this kind of squashes that all referees are against Arsenal.
Yeah, but look how rare it feels, bro. So not really. That's we've got people in the comments saying, Arsenal. People saying in the comments, Arsenal doesn't even make sense because
brother, you got 2 penalties in one game. You're still complaining.
Rare, bro.
Why let it go?
I love this from Samuel here that says Terry's sucking off Arsenal. But did you come and watch? Did you come and watch all the shows where they were losing points and getting players sent off and making mistakes, where I was criticizing them regularly through that period? I assume you didn't watch that, did you? Because that don't suit your narrative, Samuel. So
it wasn't view-worthy for Samuel then.
I suggest you go back to your leader, get down on your knees and place him back in your mouth. Okay, my friend?
It's a free country, so let him suck.
Yeah.
Okay. A wild turn.
Not doing that, by the way. It's not my preference. Each to their own, not my personal preference, but everybody go and live your life how you want to. Franklin finds that funny. It was funny. It's a funny comment, but there we go. O'Malley's here like, wowzers. Look, we're back tomorrow with more content for you. Fan channel review, match reactions for the United, Chelsea, Spurs games, and of course, the big one. Manchester City goes to Anfield. I can't wait. I'm so hoping United win beforehand as well, because then I can really enjoy it. Because you know what it's like when your team's already won, you can sit back and enjoy the rest of the weekend. This video is going to take you through to the Footy Judge Mo's channel, so go and support him over there. Go and get that done, please, people. I want to thank everybody, our super chatters, our members, our panel, and everybody that's tuned in tonight. Another amazing show here on the Football Terrace. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.